What's up, Ghosts and Ghouls? It's the one, the only, JT Ripper, and I'm here with
Todd of Thunder.
And we're back with another horrible review. If you're listening to this on Thanksgiving, we are reviewing the new 2023's Thanksgiving by Eli Roth.
Yep, it was just released in theaters a couple days ago.
And as always, we've been taking our time to digest and process the movies we watch. And if you can't tell, I'm still a little bit under the weather, but, you know, the recording don't stop for the people.
Yeah, and this is pretty much the only big theatrical horror film coming out this month. So, you know,
yeah,
we just trying to milk it a little bit, but we both have seen it, and today is our review / thoughts on the movie.
On this Eli Roth's newest installment. This started off as a spoof kind of parody film in, what was it, Planet Terror? It was like one of the fake trailers.
Yeah, this movie, the first glance, you know, was the fake trailers they had for the Grindhouse films of Death Proof and Planet Terror back in the day, with Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino teaming up to give you, you know, their really odd Grindhouse style movies.
Double features,
very reminiscent of what they did in the 70s. It was pretty big back then. But yeah, we got several trailers. We got one from Rob Zombie called Werewolf Women of the SS, or I think that was the name of it. And then we had this one, and Machete. That came. That was quickly turned into a movie with Danny Trejo,
and got a sequel.
It's a pretty big underground following to it.
Yeah, it's pretty much cult status now.
And I guess, you know, this was Eli Roth's follow-up to that, even though it's been a few years later. Hey,
15 years later.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm still waiting on the fucking werewolf movie from Rob Zombie. That would be dope.
I mean, it'd be crazy that all of these fake trailers actually got it turned into horror movies.
Yeah, it would kind of be
so
like...
far we're 2 for 3.
Well, you know, it would kind of be like, you know, all those fake trailers that came on before Tropic Thunder.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Like, I legitimately would watch The Fatties with Jack Black. Like,
oh, my God. Yes. I want this now.
Like, it's basically the black version of what Eddie Murphy does all the time.
You
which
almost
is
said Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, I almost said Eddie Guerrero. No, but it's almost just the white version of what Eddie Murphy does all the time in his... I mean, it's literally a...
fat white version.
Fat, nutty professor type of deal.
You know what's funny? I saw a meme the other day. It's still making me laugh thinking about it. I've got sick brain, so forgive me. But it was Thanos, and he was like, "This will be the end of you people." And then, like, he rips off Iron Man's helmet, and it's Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder, and it says, "What the hell you mean, you people?" And then it says break, and then it's like CNN clip at the bottom, and it's like breaking news. Thanos issues out a national apology towards all African Americans and refuses, and steps down as global leader of the world. It was fucking hilarious, but we're not here to talk about that. Now, if you don't know any of Eli Roth's movies, he did Cabin in the Woods. He's done...
No, he didn't do Cabin in the Woods.
Not Cabin in the Woods.
He did
Cabin Fever. My bad.
He did the original Cabin Fever, and he did that Green Inferno.
Green Inferno. That was an awesome movie.
And he was behind the Hostel films.
Yes.
And he also has hosted a shitload of horror things. I think, what was it? There was one that came on AMC, Eli Roth's History of Horror, and it was like different categories. Like one episode he's talking about vampires, one is zombies, one's blah 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 blah. That's a good series if you've never seen that. So
awesome. I think
try
it's
to seek
on,
that out.
I think it's on
Is it on Shudder?
Shudder. I
Might
think
be
it's
on
on Shudder.
But anyway, he's back in the director's seats for this film, and I guess I'll jump into it. I always have positives, negatives, and what could be done better. The positives were that this was a old school throwback slasher film.
100%.
From it could easily be in the early 2000s, mid 2000 era, and it would have fit. It brought the fun back into slasher films where you didn't have to think. You don't have to dive too much into a character. You don't have to dive too much into a story. You just sit back, you turn off your fucking brain, and you see a bunch of killing for an hour and a half. And that's exactly what you get with this. You don't, you think two things. Okay, why is it happening? Who's doing it? That's it. That's totally it in this film. It's, and the death scenes are good. They're quick. They're to the point. They're not like these long, drawn-out death scenes where it's coming, but, we got to wait a little bit. Let's build up tension. No, the kills were actually really quick in this film, but what we got was, it was creative quick. It wasn't just let's cut to a different scene, blah, blah, blah. It was like some decapitation, some fucking, that one girl where he put her head in the water and then opened the freezer door
and stuck her face on the door.
Yeah, and her skin got stuck and she had to fucking jerk the skin off to get out. I mean, that was cool. And it is a Thanksgiving film or set, during the Thanksgiving time. So the killer has this mask on that looks like a pilgrim,
Yeah.
What was the guy? The story takes place.
John Carver?
Yeah, John Carver. The story takes place in Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Which is, everybody knows Plymouth Rock from the old,
Pilgrimage.
The Pilgrim days and the Pilgrim and the Indians.
Yeah.
And they first landed on Pilgrim Rock. Plymouth Rock. Blah blah blah. So it kind of ties into the history of that,
which is brilliant in my point of view. I mean, yeah, you're pretty much right. This is a very straightforward slasher. It takes a lot of positive notes out of the Scream franchise book, but doesn't blatantly rip them off to the point where you're like, this is just a Thanksgiving Scream.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah, I do too. I appreciate that in a time period where every horror film tries to be so creative that they overdo it and they end up not being creative at all because they try to be so creative. And sometimes the movie ends up being boring and it's like, well, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done that. Eli Roth, he's an old school guy. He went straight for it. And he's like, look, we don't need this big story built up. We don't need, these characters to run around and be like, what's going on? No, they immediately fucking know what's going on. Oh, shit, we're next.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And so my only negative about the film is, even though there were a lot of death scenes in the film, I feel like they could have killed more of the main cast in the film. I think it was a lot more left, remaining.
Yeah, but the positive note on that, because I had that initial takeaway. I was like, there's still a lot of people alive, which is different, and I appreciate that. But it also can set up part two, like a Thanksgiving 2, no leftovers or, you know, whatever, second helpings or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the conclusion that I came to. I'm like, you know what? This is good enough to turn into a series, like a trilogy. Not a trilogy. I'm sick of that goddamn word, by the way. This could turn into a
franchise
sequel. We'll just say sequel for right now.
Yeah.
This has all the potentials to, you could come out with one of these bad boys every year and it would be totally fine. Some people say that the killer in it was predictable. I I disagree with that. I think that they had several choices that made you think that it
me
could
too.
be. Personally,
I was fooled personally.
well, I'll tell you who I thought it was. Okay, and
Okay.
this is just me kind of overthinking. The guy at the beginning of the film that got trampled over with the door.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be him,
Like coming
'cause
back.
it always showed him like looking at people like help, help, but it never showed him like actual dead, but you saw the glass cutting his face. I figure it could be him, and the reason why he wears the mask is because his face is all scarred up from getting cut and shit like that. So
pretty
that's
good.
what I thought it was, because it never showed him actual dead. Every time the camera was on him, his eyes was wide open looking for somebody to help him.
Right.
But they did a good job. They did throw out,
Of course, the boyfriend.
the boyfriend, well, both of the boyfriends,
Both
the old
of
one
them.
and the new one.
Yeah.
That was cool. The one that ended up being, actually, spoiler alert, turn it off now if you don't want to hear it. It's the sheriff. They did a good job of setting that up at the beginning, where you're thinking, oh, there probably is something going on with the dude's wife and the sheriff, because the dude's wife is super fucking friendly with him. But then it kind of, she dies. And right when she dies, it's like, oh, well, we're not going to see any scenes of them, together or anything. It's kind of like this background thing. And then it kind of made me think, well, it could be the father that's doing it, because he could have known that they were together and this is his way of getting them back. And he killed his wife last year, and this year his goal is to kill the sheriff. I was like,
but the killer didn't. He didn't fit the body shape.
yeah. That's what I'm thinking. We're so used to this type of shit where we're overthinking this bullshit, right? And Eli Roth is like, nope, it's the sheriff. They were together, as I showed you. And turns out that the girl was actually, the woman was actually pregnant, and she was going to leave. She was going to leave the guy and be with Patrick Dempsey's character.
Yeah.
And when she died in that, what was it? What was the name of the store?
Super 7 or something. Shit
I don't know.
like
They
that.
had a nickname for it afterwards. It was something Death. I forgot. Anyway, it was the equivalent of like a Walmart type of deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, she dies, and, that kind of killed his,
Family.
his apparition or dream of a family. And he's seeking revenge because of that. And everybody that was in the store that caused all this chaos, from the teenagers that snuck in, that made the mob mad, to people from the mob, to the people that ran the store, everybody kind of got it, to the security guards who ran away like a coward. So everybody was getting killed off, but they had a reason to kill everybody off. Or, in his mind, he had a reason to kill everybody off. So all the death scenes, or all the people who got chosen to kill, in the form of the story, made absolutely all the sense in the world.
Yeah. If you are watching the killer in the movie, he doesn't kill anybody that's not tied to the Black Friday massacre, so to speak.
Yeah, he's not an animal. He even feeds the cat.
Oh my God, that scene had me fucking rolling. I was like, God, don't kill the cat. Don't kill the cat. And then he's like, fucking feeds the cat. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking brilliant.